What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Goshen's Games, and today we're going to talk about a series that is very near and dear to my heart. It's a series that I've been playing for a long time, probably since, I would say, a little bit before my daughter was born, and my first daughter. And it's a game that, or it's a series that I would never have thought that I would have liked, honestly, until I got to play my first one. And my first introduction to the series is Atelier Iris 2, which was on the PS2. I picked up this game, I think around 2008 at GameStop. Initially when I saw it, I looked at it, I thought it was pretty cool, but I didn't buy it the first time that I picked it up. Or, you know, that I held it in my hands. And it turned out that, you know, I went home and I was looking at my games, and I'm, you know, at this point in my gaming life, I was kind of at a standstill because I fell into the habit of buying the same series over and over, like Final Fantasy, like the same games over and over, and I kind of got bored. I mean, as Final Fantasy 12 left a bad taste in my mouth, and I needed something different. I needed to get away from Final Fantasy. I needed a good RPG to play. And so I ended up picking up this game, Atelier Iris 2, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much that then I went back and hunted for the first Atelier Iris game. I went all around through all the GameStops in the area. This was around the time that PS2 was kind of like phasing out, believe it or not, in 2009. That's when PS2 was officially phasing out. So I hunted around for this game, and the first game, when I found it, picked that up, I loved it. Then I went and find the third game in the series. I found it, picked it up, and it was kind of it was different. And then from there, it just continued to grow and grow. I've got Mana Khemia 1 and 2, which is part of the Atelier series, or the Atelier franchise. And then Atelier Rorona got released, or got announced. And I was excited. This was a game that was brand new to the series that I just recently fell in love with. I was excited. I wanted to buy it. I wanted to play it. I wanted to get the collector's edition of it. And that's what I did. I got the collector's edition of it, and it's still sitting on my shelf as we speak. Now, that was the first game in the Arland series. So, the PS2 era was Atelier Iris, and when PS3 came and we had the Atelier game on PS3, it was the Arland series. So, Atelier Rorona was the first game in the Arland series, Atelier Totori was the second game, and Atelier Meruru was the third game in the Arland series. Now, on the PS3, we had other games release. From that point, we had Atelier Aisha, Atelier Eska and Laji. There was a Atelier Shali, I believe. All were on the PS3. Now, out of all those games, the only three, or well, I can't say the only three. Out of those 6 games, it's broken off into two separate stories. You had the Arland series, and then you had the I believe they call it the Alchemist of Dusk series. So we're going to talk specifically about the Arland series because Atelier Lulua, which is the most recent game in the series, takes place in the Arland series. They brought it back, and mainly because it's the 10th anniversary for Atelier Rorona. So what better way to celebrate than to release a game that you now play as Rorona's daughter? And there's a lot of things that I loved about the Arland trilogy, and there's some things that I don't like about it. Out of the 3 original games, Rorona, Totori, and Meruru, my favorite is Totori. And the main reason is because out of the 3 of those games, Atelier Totori seemed to have the best story. You follow the adventures of an alchemist who was trained by Rorona to find her mother. She's on a quest to find her mother and become an adventurer to go out and look for her mother who was lost many years ago. And as you progress through the story, you find different characters, and other characters join your party, including some past characters from Atelier Rorona. Now that trend also continues on into Atelier Meruru, but the story for Atelier Meruru is a lot more lighthearted than Atelier Totori was, and so I didn't resonate as much with Atelier Meruru as much as I did like the game, because the combat was always an improvement. So each game was always an improvement in combat. But what hindered all 3 of those games was a time constraint. there was always a constant time constraint in each one of those games that you had a limited amount of time to complete tasks. Now, while most of the time that wouldn't be a problem, where it became a problem was that you couldn't actually complete the game on your first playthrough. You had to play it probably about 2 or 3 more times to be able to get the full-on ending for the game. And while that does add for more replay value, the problem is that then it becomes too repetitive, and then you don't really get to enjoy it because you're constantly stressing over the time constraint that is in the game. And a lot of times, especially when it came to Atelier Rorona, it makes it so hard to venture out into the world. By the time that I finished my first playthrough of Atelier Rorona, I had missed out on so much in the game because I didn't have enough time to actually go ahead and explore the entire world. Where now we have Atelier Meru, or not Meru, I'm sorry, we have Atelier Lulua, which is 10 years later now. And, 10 years later for us, not in the game. In the game, it's actually longer than that. Where we don't have those time constraints anymore. We get to actually enjoy the game, and it feels so much better. It actually makes me feel more like I'm playing a game like Atelier Iris 1 and 2 that didn't have the time constraints, and you were free to do everything that you wanted to do. You could explore the world. You could go gathering materials. You could go hunting, killing different monsters. You could just do whatever you please. But something that I absolutely love about Atelier Lulua versus the other ones, besides the time constraint now being gone, is the fact that that this game doesn't hold your hand as much as the other games did. And what do I mean by that is, the other games, when you would create items and stuff, it would pretty much tell you how to do things. They would hold your hand even towards the end of the game. Where this one here, they give you hints on how to create items and how to do certain things and how to unlock different things, but they never tell you how to do it specifically, which then leads you wondering for a good while on how to do things. And then you have to experiment with item creation and experiment with item usage and combat to be able to unlock the different things in this game, which makes it that much more enjoyable, because I don't want to have my hand held throughout an entire game, because then it doesn't make it as enjoyable as it should be. And that's why I really like this game. And usually I've held Atelier Rorona as my favorite Atelier game, and then followed by Atelier Iris 2. But in all honesty, this one is actually grown so much on me that I put this one probably I would say at the same level as Atelier Rorona. Just because the story is still not as good as Atelier Rorona is, even though the gameplay is that much better. For me, story is a huge deal, and the story in this game is not it's not as in-depth as Atelier Rorona is. The story in this game is, without spoiling much, it's more along the lines of just she's trying to just become a better alchemist. There's no, so far there hasn't been a legit full-on story that I've noticed, and I've been playing the game for over 30 hours at this point. But either way, I still enjoy the game. If I'm gonna give it a rating, I would say give it like 7.5 out of 10. Again, the only thing that hinders it for me is the lack of a definitive story, which again is okay in a sense, because I get to fully explore the lands and the different areas. I get to complete the alchemy book. I get to complete my the guides for the different locations, and I get to do it at my leisure, which is more than I could ask for in an RPG like this. So, with that, I'll leave you guys with a dragon fight, because I love fighting dragons in this game. It's probably one of my favorite things to do in this game. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button, subscribing if you guys are new, and if you played the game, if you played any of the Atelier series games, let me know down in the comment section below. I want to say a quick shout out, thank you to Koei Tecmo for giving me this game to play, and to NIS America for shipping me my collector's edition, which I paid full price for. So I once again, I love these games, and I will continue to buy them, and I can't wait for the next one, which is Atelier Rorona. With that, guys, I will catch you all later. You guys have a great rest of your day. Peace out, guys.
見切った。
仕留めるわ。飛んでいけ。ルルアキーク。
これにてカーテンコールかな。